EJ, one of your co-hosts, and Lori and T are joining me today. So we can talk about episode 49, Masks of When Will My Reflection Show Who I Am Inside, or the Mask of Reflection. Today's going to be actually a simple episode for us. We wanted to kind of culminate. We just finished up a huge series on personalities and how that can impact our daily lives and all different aspects. So we wanted to reflect on the podcast. We wanted to reflect on some of our favorite episodes, because this is the first time we've really had a chance to go back and talk about certain episodes we've had that we really enjoyed. We all have different ones, and yeah, I think one of the big ones we wanted to kind of just talk about a few of the bigger episodes that seems to be in the top favorites are like Masks of the Victim. That seems to be like number one in all of our, as we've looked over stuff. That was a really awesome one. We had someone on, Lori, sharing about her trauma, Lori sharing a little bit about her past. And it's really a very impactful episode. Highly recommend it. We also, I think top two on YouTube at least is the Masks of Food. That seems to be a really big discussion topic. I know we covered a lot in that episode. And then we've had some great guests like Tina's daughter, Lexi. She joined the Masks of Family Ties and talked a little bit about finding some of her biological family that she didn't know existed. And I believe that's one of Tina's favorites. And then we've had another top one is the Massive Academic and Job Performance, which we were actually all surprised about to see that it was one of our more recent episodes, but it was still already in the top 5 or 6. So that was pretty cool. And then Massive Transformation also, I think, joined the top 5 or top 10. That was when we had Sherry. I believe she was our first guest ever. We had a great experience with her. We all clicked. T and I actually had not met her prior to recording and doing the meeting. So it was really neat to sit down and get to know her a little bit and chat and connect. Yeah. And for me, my kind of favorites, just because it's, it hits close to home for me, but it's the Masks That Weigh Us Down, part 1 and 2. I think we all had a lot of really great thoughts, comments, and stuff to share in that. Yeah, so those are kind of some of them. Do you guys want to share anything?
Dee, do you want to go?
Well, as EJ said, my favorite was the one in which my daughter was in, and I think it's my favorite for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's my kid, and that really is the biggest piece of what made that my favorite. Not just because I'm biased, but because I got to see her talk about something that was very deep and just be a witness to that, and just see watching how she handled it and handles herself and in the situation. And it just was one of my favorites. I thought it would be awkward when we were going into it, but it wasn't. And that's one of the reasons I like it so much.
Yeah. It's interesting as a kind of unofficial auntie in her life. It was so wonderful to see the maturity and the growth and just this beautiful young woman that, I've seen grow up with my kids,
Yep. She was about 10 when you met her.
Yeah. And so
yeah, you really watched her grow up.
I really did. And, I think you and I both joked several times about how, we've both kind of been moms and aunties within each other's kids' lives. And so for me, it was just wonderful to just see this beautiful young woman who I had seen, and known for so many years, just really blossom. And I loved her passion of the topic. And it was interesting because I was really kind of nervous about the whole thing, because I for many reasons, my past and my adoption and biological family and adoptive family and all of that's just had a lot of turmoil, we'll say, and not been my favorite topic of discussion. And I actually found that episode to be so helpful, to be so just genuinely refreshing and helpful. And so if you haven't seen that episode and you're watching it, I really encourage you to watch it. It was amazing. And for me, it was transformative in ways I didn't expect. So yeah, I liked it too. Oh, and EJ, I definitely mass that weigh us down. Yeah, that's a in some ways, if you think about it, what I was going through physically with bariatric surgery
Right.
and knee surgery and all of these things, it's kind of what put us on this path.
Yeah.
And we decided, maybe these are things and issues other people will want to hear about and engage with us on. And I really felt like, well, I know for a fact for me, food has been a big issue. So I know it was one of the top ones, but it's why it is definitely one of my absolute favorites, The Masks of Food.
Right.
As hard as it was, and the research that I did, and the just growth and change, learning that I had no healthy relationship with food.
Right.
No healthy relationship with my body image, no healthy relationship with loving myself, all of these things, which is why I think we all really also, we all talk about it. The episode with Sherry, The Masks of Transformation, because transformation is such a beautiful thing. And it gives us opportunities to laugh and cry and journal and reflect and celebrate all of the things that we're going through. And I don't know about you ladies, but I know for a fact that definitely from the beginning of our first year of this podcast, the first season, and then, but in the second season, I really felt that I've grown, that I've changed, that I've become more of who I think my creator and I, planned on. And it's been a beautiful thing. And I don't know if I would be, I don't know what I would be, but this podcast and the subjects and the transformations and the revelations and the discoveries that we made together in this group have just been amazing. And they've definitely transformed my life into something pretty amazing.
Well, and it's funny because I'm glad you mentioned that, and about kind of transforming through this podcast, because I feel like when we did that personality series, it really nailed down some thoughts that I like, some concerns that I had, that I'm like, okay, now I get it. And I've had conversations recently with people for different reasons, just general conversations, and they talk about, well, I just don't understand. I'm like, well, could it be your personality type is causing? And they're like, oh, and it's like the light bulb goes off. And I think so many, like there's, like we talk about it as a lot of people will take a personality test because then that'll help you tell what type of job you might be good at or, could move towards. But not everybody goes through that. Not everybody does that. Some people get the job that they, they go to school for, and they don't realize maybe they, are passionate about something else. So they don't necessarily stop to think that because they have a certain personality, that's, why. And I was just talking to a gal the other day, and I was saying something about, I was like, well, I'm an introvert. And I said, so, it's social activities is, it takes more for me to be in social activities. And she's like, yeah, she understood that because she's the same way. And yeah, so I feel like that's given me more of a knowledge of just, okay, when this is going on, I can pinpoint it. It's a personality thing more than I do or I don't want to do something. It's why, because my personality is different than somebody else's. So yeah. And Lori, you didn't really share what your favorite episode was.
My favorite was the food.
Okay.
And I know I have so many favorites. So I'm like, I was
Right.
going through the list. I'm like, oh, I like this one because of this. Oh, and I like this one because of this. And I just feel like I made so many discoveries and so many when I like research. I'm a big geeky, nerdy, it's so funny because I'm remembering back to my master's program. We had this research class. I wasn't sure I was ever going to get through it. I was like, you want me to do what? Why? I don't want to do that. Now I find myself using different techniques from that class when I'm writing, when I'm getting ready for a podcast, when I'm helping a friend or a sister, or, I'll be like, oh, I know how to research that. I can go do that. And I've always loved learning. I think I'm really like Curious George sometimes, but that way. But I didn't realize that I actually, as you grow up, Curious George, it's called research. And I like it. And it's been fun. And so much of the episodes when I'm doing the research, I just am blown out of the water sometimes, the revelations and the eye-opening discoveries. Season 1 was great because it's the beginning, right? But I don't know, we're gonna have to do some pretty amazing things in season 3 because I loved our season 2. I really did. And I love that at the end, like you said, we brought up the personalities thing. I remember thinking, it's going to be boring. I don't know if this is going to be such a great idea.
Right.
And then we ended up doing like, what, I don't know, 6 or 7, maybe 8 different
Yeah.
episodes based upon personalities because there's so much.
Right. It's such a broad topic.
Yeah. And I was again blown away with the research and the discoveries and the little tidbits and be like, oh, that's why I think that way, or that's what kind of makes me tick, or and then also though, I felt it was great for my relationships.
Yeah.
It really helps me to have better empathy, to see a different point of view, to realize that not everybody's completely extroverted and larger than life type A, boom in your face person, And so it was really helpful to be able to help the way that I look at others and interact with others. And yeah, it was good stuff.
I saw this meme the other day and I can't remember the exact phrasing of it. It was basically introverts don't make friends. an extrovert just found them and adopted them.
I've
And I was
adopted
like-
everybody.
And you know, in our relationship, I kind of feel like that. Like I was an introvert, you and I got connected, you know, we got to know each other, we had a lot of things in common, and then you just kind of took me under your wing. And so it's like, it's funny because like we'll talk about things, and even us, like we've talked about it just outside of the podcast planning or anything. We've talked about the personalities, whether we've had something going on. I've even like, when you're feeling a certain way or I'm feeling a certain way, sometimes we'll bring up like, do you think it's because it's your personality or is it for something else? So yeah, I think it's really grown great conversation among us and others. So yeah, and I definitely want to give a shout out and a thank you to all the guests that we've had thus far, because you guys have brought different groups of people to the podcast platforms. And we're grateful for any kind of recognition or, you know, extra that we can get. And, you know, I think we've talked about this before. Yeah, we do this because this is what we want to do. And we talking about things we want to talk about. So we're not doing it because we want to be the, you know, award-winning podcast, but we desire, you know, to grow, and we've been doing that. So it's kind of one of those where we welcome any kind of feedback. So I know we always say in our, you know, outro that, you know, please message us feedback. You know, we're on all these different social platforms, or you can email us, and you know, we want your feedback. Do you want us to have more guests? Do you want us to tackle certain topics? Because right now we're just pulling topics out of our thoughts of things going on in our everyday lives, or something we hear about online or in a news article. And then we're like, okay, well, maybe we could talk about something like that. And, you know, it's fun because like Lori said, we all in different ways research things, and T has great experience in her job. Sometimes she may have a client that comes through that is going through something similar to what we talk about. So she's able to give us some feedback regarding that. Yeah, so please, you know, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are on pretty much all social media right now. Yeah, those are just a few thoughts, but yeah, you're also right about the whole season 1 being our kind of beginning season, and season 2 kind of, we definitely adopted the Zoom platform more in season 2. We did all season 2 in Zoom, whereas the
Thank
first
you,
like
ladies,
half,
for being willing to do that.
well, yeah, I mean, and then the first half of season 1, I know Lori jokes that she like would rather just like delete those episodes because
We're growing. We were
very-
having growing pains.
we were using a platform that for some reason like as a tech person, I was struggling because there was an overlap. Like the first 20 minutes usually was fine, but then after that, any longer than like 20 minutes, there was this like overlap where like Lori would start talking, but then like somebody hadn't finished their feedback, or then I would start talking before somebody had finished. And it was just and it was very hard to edit. So from coming from me doing the background stuff, it just was like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I would do my best, and I would spend like hours like going through each episode. So I'm glad we were able to adopt the Zoom platform and utilize it more, because I feel like that's definitely given us more strength in the sound quality, and we haven't had to need all the powerful bells and whistles. We don't need microphones. We don't need all that extra stuff, which we were trying to use before. And yeah, so
I think too, when we first started, you know, oh God, I know I still have mine back there somewhere. I don't know. I'm so
Right.
glad we don't have to use those anymore. You know, we've been doing a lot of reflecting, but I remember in that first season too, I think and I'm sure other podcasts have gone through this too and grown and changed and whatever, but I feel like, you know, in the beginning, it's like, oh, we have to put out. I felt like it was more about putting out content. And sometimes it was a lot longer. and we listened to some feedback and we're like, oh, you just want an hour? Oh, we can do that. You know, I
Right.
think we can. I think we
We
can.
are Chatty Cathy's, so
Yeah.
Oh,
we-
yes, we are,
do.
Chatty Cathy. This is true.
Yep. We are.
So, T, is there from kind of that professional point of view, why is reflection important? What is important about reflection?
well, it depends on what your purpose is for it. Number one, sometimes when you get caught up in it, and it's about beating ourselves up, or like I should have done this, I should have done that. But reflection with some insight and compassion towards yourself and others involved kind of gives you a chance to see, to really honor where you've been, honor the process. And then it all helps inform what you're going to do next and how you want to go forward. Maybe there's nothing to change, but you wouldn't know that if you didn't stop and reflect. Maybe there's you want to totally like empty the box and start all over again. That's feasible. That's valid too, but you can't know that and do it with any intent, purpose, and have any good outcome if you don't stop and reflect.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I think, no, I don't think. I know most of my reflection prior to all of this transformation, most of my reflection was of the negative. I'm a self-diagnosed and professionally diagnosed perfectionist. I definitely didn't use care and compassion with myself. I did with others. I love to show care and compassion for others, but I did not know how to do it for myself, and definitely not in a healthy, reflective way.
You want to know something ironic?
What?
Is you can show all the compassion and care to others, but they won't take it seriously or see it as sincere if you're not applying it to yourself.
Right.
That is so true. That's very true. That's very true. I have found people in my life, especially recently, are much more receptive to any compassion or guidance or advice or care that I give or offer than ever before. And I think you're right. It's because I've learned to do it with myself.
You have a well to draw from.
Yeah, I do. And that's amazing. Thanks for, we're not even doing we didn't really do research for this one, and yet I still come away with the nuggets. I still come away with that's going to be my thought for the day. I love that. I think the other thing I've noticed too, like in our relationships, but specifically, I had a kind of rough week this week. There was a lot going on. I was sharing with my counselor, and there was a lot going on. There's a lot of people in and out of hospitals, deaths, friends struggling. Every time I turned around from probably like last Thursday, it's been this something.
Yeah.
Every day. And I got to Monday and I haven't been sleeping well. There's been a lot going on and haven't been able to fully find rest. And what I've loved and what I really saw happen beautifully Monday was my roommate over there, I didn't even really have to explain a lot. I mean, of course, she knew things were going on, but I come out in the morning and I'm like trying to. I was frustrated and angry and tense and
tense,
angry. Yeah, I
hippie.
just was. Yeah, I was not having a good morning. It was an ugly Monday morning, and I asked for some space, had my coffee, did a quiet time, prayed, and then I remember just kind of speaking up and going, can we just get out of Dodge? Can we just go for a drive? And I didn't have to explain. And she kind of asked at first, she was like, well, do you know where you want to? I'm like, I don't care. You pick. I just want to get out of here. I need to get out. And I didn't have to explain. She did a really good job at reading the situation, knowing me, and we had a fantastic day. It was beautiful, and I was able to take some beautiful pictures, and we shared a beautiful meal at a funny little place, the Fainting Goat. I don't know. It was adorable.
Yeah.
But we just,
Good for you, EJ. Good for you.
it was so
Oh,
amazing.
no. It was a good place. Yeah, no, it was just.
No, I know, but just the name of it, I can picture it. And that's totally not a Lori place. I don't even know it.
Which,
Just
you know
by
what,
the
it's
name of it.
so funny. So we went to a town in northern Idaho where my grandmother actually graduated high school. I'd never been there. In all the years my parents and I traveled back and forth from Washington to Minnesota, we never stopped. But I knew Wallace was an important city. So it's like a population of like 960. But we go there
I know.
and we're like, where do we want to eat? And so we're looking on the GPS and Lori's like, no, it's over there. And she's like, well, there's a tap room over there. And I was like, well, I guess we could go there. But then we were like looking, it's this place. But I'm like, oh, you didn't see the goat upside down on the sign? It's called the Fainting Goat. It was such a witty name.
That's
Well,
awesome.
and the people were so friendly, and it was great. But why I brought it up was because what has gone on in this transformative time, I even feel that way with you, T. We just continue to know each other better. I feel like that, and I know we talked about it in one of our episodes. I think it was in season 1. I see you. And what I love about my relationship with you two is we see each other. We get each other. We're there for each other. It's been so amazing just to see our growth in our relationships, and getting to help others, and you said you can't help people when you're drawing from an empty well. Yeah. I've always had a desire to help people, but now it comes so effortlessly.
It feels different for the receiver when you're being like, if someone's coming to help me and I know that they're drawing from an empty well, it's hard to accept that help. It doesn't feel as sincere. It almost feels like they're doing it for, this desire to be moving away from their empty well. But when someone's doing it from a full well, first of all, it feels more sincere. It feels like it's authentic, and I'm not taking something they don't have.
Right. Yeah.
That is very true. And we've talked so much throughout our podcasts, our episodes, about living authentically, transparently, vulnerably. These are not easy concepts, and they tend to be countercultural. Yeah. And interesting because, you know, because of the level of access for pretty much everybody, even children nowadays, to social media, we talk about and think we're living more transparently. We're not. And most of and of what gets posted is what we want people to see, or what, you know, it's what is it, fake news? I feel like we have fake lives so often. And I know for myself, I try really hard to, on my social media, there's a healthy balance, okay? I don't want to get on there every day and, I don't know, there's appropriate.
It's natural for us to want to put our best foot forward.
Yes, it is.
Even before social media, we were taught that, when you're in church, you sit a certain way, you behave a certain way. When you are at the grocery store and you're in the checkout, you're polite to the checkout person, even if you're having a crappy day. The idea is we're supposed to put our best foot forward. It's a whole concept in psychology too, but there's our inner circle, our inner life, and then the next circle, then the next circle, then the next circle. And there's also a lot of, sociology involved in it too. We desire not to be kicked out by a group, because there's safety in numbers, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just the way we are. We're going to want to put our best foot forward. It's being aware that when we meet someone's best foot, they have another foot.
I like that. That's great. They have another foot.
Well,
yes. Go ahead, EJ.
There's a lot in that, and I know like social media has definitely become like a positive, but also like kind of a thorn too, because there are a lot of people on there that selfishly want attention, and do it for the wrong reasons. And then there's people like myself and Lori and T that, we put out stuff that's important. Whether it's how we're feeling about something, where we're at. I'm not on social media as much as I used to be, but when I go on there, I share important things in my life, positive and negatives. On anniversaries of my parents, passing, or their birthdays, I'll always post pictures. I feel really bad. Lori was sharing about Monday. Because we did that, I totally spaced on what the day was. And it was actually the second anniversary of losing my dad, which was probably a good thing that I didn't realize it until a couple of days later, because I probably would have bet a basket case that day. But I share, I don't hesitate to share that stuff. And somebody once told me that I shared too much and then I got too emotional on there. I'm like, yeah, but no, this is me. I'm not going to show just the polished EJ, because I want to show everything, because I want to be real. I want people to know that there's a person behind that social media, not just I'm putting this picture out there because I want the likes or the subscribers. And the same with what we do here on the podcast. We don't do this for likes and subscribers. If you like what we say and what we talk about, please subscribe to us. But I'm not going to say, okay, well, we're only going to put this episode out because I know we're going to get 500 more followers. That's not what we do it for. We do it for our own health. And if somebody else can benefit from that, that's what we want. And, recently we've been helping a young gal who's engaged to be married, and she's from another country. She moved here to get married. And so she's really been out of her element from a different country. And so, just seeing her kind of being a fish out of water, but also being grateful for those few people like Lori and I who've been able to step up and give her rides to the store, give her rides to go places, spend time with her, help her with things. That's what we do. And there's always we always go back to our faith too, where we talk about, don't do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Because then then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So I'm grateful that the three of us have had a faithful foundation in going into this too, because I feel like that's also helped us along the way.
Okay, I'm not gonna get this right, and maybe one of the two of you will remember this specific scripture better than I am. I want to say it's in John, but talks about love not being that it's a resounding gong when we speak without love, but when we speak with love, it's this beautiful, full, complete, and I'm putting all these other words in there, but words without love are a resounding gong. They're not, and they don't land softly, and they don't land anywhere near where they're really supposed to land.
What do you do when you hear a noise that is obnoxious and loud and gong?
Yeah, you cover your
And then what do
ears. You don't want to
Yep,
hear it.
and then what do you hear?
Nothing. That's true. You're not getting anything in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what's been amazing about our podcast, is that it has been full of love and grace and compassion for ourselves and for others. And that's what I've loved best about what we're doing.
And, cheers to 49 episodes, because we've done, 49. That's awesome. And, it's, which kind of leads us into kind of like future stuff. So this is episode 49. We are going to take a little bit of a hiatus for the summer, the rest of the summer, just kind of give us a break. We've all got some trips and some things going on that we're just like, yeah, we need some extra time. So we're going to take a few months off. Yeah, life happens. And we're going to come back sometime, probably mid-September, with season 3, episode 50, which will be exciting to start on a big one. So between now and then, we'll be putting some more social media posts out there. We'll maybe be doing some giveaways or some like surveys and things you can vote on to see like what your favorite episode is, because we talked about ours. So we'd love to hear what your guys' favorite episodes are. And you may be entered into a drawing for something. So yeah, so just keep an eye out for that. We're excited. We're happy to just continue going, but we also, we stress in every episode, self-care is important. And this is time for us to take some time and step back and say, okay, we need to, self-care first, whether it's going on a trip, spending time with other family members, doing something different the days, because thankfully we've gotten into a great routine with when we meet, but sometimes those days get really packed and we're like, I need a Friday, but I can't because we're doing this. So this will give us the summer to kind of reset, recharge, reboot, and we'll come back fresh with new ideas and hopefully feedback from you guys.
Yes, I really want to ask you, please respond, please, because we want to know what you want to hear. What is in your life? What's going on? And we do want some opportunities to give away some swag and have some fun. So we're going to do, some drawings and things and some polls. And we really, really, really would love to hear back from you. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to our break. You're right, EJ, we have to reboot too. We have to engage in self-care, and we have lives, just like everybody else, I know. But,
right?
It's so, yeah, we need some time to be able to do that a little bit. I got 6 grandbabies I got to go celebrate with and hang out with, and you have even more. I know, man. I gotta keep up here.
Okay. Oh gosh.
I need some more, apparently. I don't know. I have always joked with the boys about, wow, I'm gonna have a baseball team here soon. You already have a baseball team.
Well, what cracks me up is over half of mine come from one kid.
Yeah, mine at least are evenly distributed right now.
My husband's kids haven't even started yet. So
Oh,
we
gosh.
still have 3 more kids that could be having kids. They swear they're never gonna have kids, but we'll see on that. But
Right.
I
yeah,
swore I was never gonna have kids, so and now I have grandbabies. So yeah, we'll have to do we'll have to do an episode on that.
ooh, like it.
Yeah,
My favorite
definitely.
subject.
Right. So I just wanted to get a little plug in there and implore you. Even if you don't do it on social media platforms, whatever, if that's not your thing, if you're listening and you have a thought, you have a concern, you have a desire, approach us.
Mhm.
Send us an email, a text when we're
And you
chatting
can,
next. Just
if we're
please let us know.
something where your name goes into a hat for a drawing for something, and you're not responding on social media itself and send us an email, that still counts.
Yes,
Still counts.
it
We
still
do
counts.
whatever it
If you
takes
give us a
to-
response, yes, you're going to be in. Yeah,
And
I
we're
like that.
doing this, yes, of course, we'd love more views. Of course, we'd love more subscriptions. That's
Right.
great. But that's really what's drawing us to this is we really would like to hear what people think.
Yeah,
It feels nice to get that feedback, to know that if we're doing a good job, great. If you're liking what you see, but you'd like more of this, it just feels so nice to get that that feedback and that validation and whatnot, and kind of helps us keep that energy going to oh, this does matter.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, of course we'd like to hear all that. Of course, I don't mind my ego patted once in a while, so
But I also like to be reflective, and I like to hear what we could be doing differently or better, or
keep doing, or
yes,
hey,
yeah,
I don't know about you girls, but I'd love to hear from someone like, hey, I was really struggling with this and you gave me some ideas. That's
yes, yeah,
awesome to know. Or I was really struggling and you suck. That's fine too.
yeah, whatever it is, be authentic, transparent, and vulnerable with us.
Right.
We say that
Preach.
now.
Yeah,
I'm
we say
hoping
that
this
now.
season we're like, whoa, stop on the criticism for a minute. I'd love to
We
be
might
at that
get
point.
it. We might get it. This is true. This is true. All right, EJ, take us on out.
So this episode will be on YouTube and most major podcast platforms. Subscribe if you're not already, and we'd love for you to be one if you are not. Don't forget to like and click the subscribe button to keep up on our upcoming episodes. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads as Behind the Mask PC. And you can also email any of that feedback or ideas to behindthemaskpc@gmail.com. To find us, the 3 of us, online. Links for us are in the description of every episode. And on behalf of the ladies and myself, thanks for 49 episodes. And thank you for listening or watching. And we will talk to you soon. Bye.